Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Bullion is preparing to expand to a 25,000 square foot facility to store precious metals, and a Singapore dealer is planning a massive expansion to store up to 15,000 tons of silver. Let's explore. Very interesting news indeed. This was shared with me from an anonymous member of the community and is coming to us published on mining.com through a Bloomberg news agency. Inside of a 6-story high warehouse near Singapore's Shanghai airport, a vast hangar-like space is waiting to be filled with a precious metal that usually plays second fiddle to its more lustrous sibling. Well, they're referring to gold here, but in this particular case, the attention is solely on silver. The vault that's being built by Silver Bullion Pte. Limited will, when completed in the first half of 2022, be able to store 15,000 tons of silver. It's only holding around 400 tons of the metal at the moment, and that tells you something, I believe. I believe that there are several things this is telling us, is that there is still silver to be had, but there's great demand out there, and there are likely anticipating more to come. The vacant space is an indication that silver appears to be in the cusp of a promising few years. Demand for coins and bars is booming, fueled in part by a Reddit-induced buying frenzy in February that drove prices to an 8-year high. And they're referring to Wall Street Silver forum on the Reddit community. And boy, they are exactly right. They have really got this thing swinging into motion. And they're well over, probably at the time of the recording of this video, probably close to 55,000 apes strong, and I think it's quite exciting to see all the new buyers out there. And as many of you know, I did an interview with Wall Street Silver recently, and I've also addressed several of my videos to that community, providing some caution, but also excitement in the buying there. But nonetheless, that while the fervor has abated, and I've mentioned that as well too, retail interest is still elevated. Valuations are relatively cheap, and measures are being taken to meet the surge in demand. The amount of silver stored in vaults in London rose 11% in March, according to the London Bullion Market Association. Think about that for a moment. The amount of silver stored in vaults rose to 11% in March. So these supply chains are working, and there's great demand, and there's a squeeze on the silver product, but the wheels are in motion to try to meet this demand through supply. And we can tell by the 400 tons of the metal that this silver bullion is already storing. And then we have the 11% rise in the LBMA. As well as the Singapore vault, JM Bullion, one of the biggest precious metal retailers in the U.S., especially now that they've been acquired, and they're probably as big as APMEX at the moment. They plan to open a 25,000 square foot warehouse in Dallas in June that will be used for storing silver and other precious metals. And JM Bullion, as I've reported on this channel, they were acquired by A-Mark, which I believe is one of the authorized purchasers from the U.S. Mint for Silver Eagles. So my guess is they'll probably be storing some Silver Eagles there as well. And silver takes up a lot of space, so they're going to be probably utilizing that space mostly for silver. And that will be opening up in June of this year, and it'll be used for storing silver and other precious metals. As you know, gold, platinum, and palladium, they pack a whole lot more value in a much smaller space, so more than likely the vast majority of that space will be utilized for silver. The metal's crucial role in the energy transition, it's a key component in photovoltaics, solar panels, also looks set to buoy consumption over the longer term. All of this has some analysts forecasting that silver will outperform gold this year. In fact, I have talked about it in my silver prediction video, and I am bullish on silver for this year. Even in the silver spot price, I believe it's going to be somewhere between $30 and $35 an ounce. But, it's been very slow going as far as seeing the silver spot price move. But there's been a lot of demand, and that demand has created the premiums that we're seeing. And here we can see on the side that says the demand for coins and bars is booming. And this is basically from the sentence above from the Reddit-induced buying frenzy. The Reddit community has been around with precious metals or silver bugs, or several different silver forms have been around for quite some time. I believe the silver bugs community is, I think, over 2 million, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, we have a community here on YouTube, and there's a great community on Instagram, and I think Discord. There's communities there as well. There's all over the space. I think Facebook has several precious metals communities. It's great to see it all over social media for sure. And that's where the message can get out about precious metals. Let's see. The outlook for demand for silver over the next few years looks very positive, especially across a wide range of industrial applications, including solar, 5G, and automotive, said Philip Klapwich, managing director of Hong Kong-based consultant Precious Metals Insights Limited. That, coupled with ongoing high levels of investment, is likely to create the need for more dedicated storage space for silver and bullion, and also intermediate forms. Now, that's the thing too, is will some of this storage space be rented out by some of these industrial applications and people who need it? I don't know. That'd be very interesting to see if these bullion dealers can make money off of storing some of these industrial grade silver ingots for utilization in those factors. So this may not all be, I don't know, that's just a guess on my part, but we'll see. Gregerson, founder of Silver Bullion, said he started searching for a bigger warehouse 2 or 3 years ago, and that decision was vindicated last year when demand for the metal surged during the coronavirus pandemic. We saw that just after March, when the silver spot price plummeted to below $12 an ounce, and then demand just really picked up, and in fact, it picked up so fast that by the time the price dropped, the price for a monster box of Silver Eagles or even a tube of Silver Eagles only went down a couple of bucks, and it quickly climbed beyond that, even though the silver spot price took a little while longer to recover its losses. The idea is to make this a really iconic building for this storage facility, he said during a tour of the vault, that will be known as the Reserve. Isn't that interesting? It's a reserve. Well, when we have our precious metals stored in our home or in a secure facility, we have our own reserve. We're our own reserve bank. I think that's we're our own central bank here. There really isn't a facility built specifically to store large quantities of silver securely. Singapore has a reputation as a stable financial center and has taken steps to position itself as a bullion hub. In fact, by some measures economically, Singapore is a freer nation than the United States is. Exempting investment-grade gold, silver, and platinum from a goods and services tax. That's what it should be, in my view. Physical investments in silver, which covers bullion coin and bar purchases, is expected to reach a 6-year high of 257 million ounces in 2021, according to the Silver Institute. It'll be very interesting to see that report. That's exciting to hear. It's exciting to see new people come into the world of precious metals, I feel. Spot silver, currently trading around $25 an ounce, is forecast by Citigroup to peak at $28 to $30 in the second half, aided by its still solid investment demand and an end to physical destocking in China and India. And so that's not quite as bullish as where I was for this year. But again, keeping in mind that these high premiums that people are paying now is risky. To buy with these high premiums in case some of this is abated in time. But so far, people are thinking this thing's going to continue, and why they're building these storage facilities to prepare for it. The lender sees the price averaging to $27.30 this year. Morgan Stanley, meanwhile, sees the metal averaging $25 an ounce in 2021, up 22% from last year. Gold, meanwhile, is stabilizing after its first quarterly loss since 2018, amid high bond yields and optimism over global economic recovery from the pandemic that's dampening demand for the metal. Citi sees gold currently fetching around $17.40 an ounce, falling to $15.75 in 6 to 12 months. Boy, I kind of hope so, because I'd like to pick up some more gold. But nonetheless, I feel like the same thing could happen to silver, in spite of my predictions. And that's just it, folks. That's the one advice I would give to folks out there. Even though we're seeing these reports that they're anticipating greater demand coming in the next maybe even couple of years, if the price goes down and premiums go down, silver will lose its luster for, quote, investors, just like it did before after the crash JP Morgan buy silver craze that was out starting around 2011, 2012 into 2013. The article goes on. Look, there's no shortage of silver. The Silver Institute expects the global market to remain in surplus this year. Very interesting, folks. Now, in my interview with Wall Street Silver, since 2015, there has been more demand than supply. So this is an interesting turn of events. And I've always said that there's really no shortage of silver. There's shortage of silver product. But this kind of confirms my suspicion in here. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people that are new or really haven't studied the nuance of this forget about. When they think shortage of silver, they think, oh man, silver's going to run out. But no, there's plenty of silver that's going to be mined and processed and turned into product. And I think that just goes to show you that, even as I did a video just a few days ago about how the Royal Mint had run out of silver bars, well, next day or two, they had some more. This article talks about how there's still, in the Singapore vault, they've got 400 tons of silver. 400 tons. That's a lot of silver. But hey, if there is silver that's stocked up and piled up in preparation for the next big movement, then they will be able to meet demand and get deliveries out into people's hands. And hopefully those people that accumulate that silver will understand what I believe is the true purpose for owning silver. What is that? That is to preserve your wealth, not to try to crash any bank, not to try to break the COMEX. I don't think you can do that. I really don't. Not because of talk of manipulation or even inflation, hyper or otherwise. We know inflation's here. It's always been here to some level. But silver in the long run, I believe, will preserve your wealth. But it takes patience, takes time. Silver's story is one of history. And that's why I believe silver sells itself. And this is why I hold silver, why I don't sell any of my silver. I've got silver that I've bought for $5 an ounce, and I've got silver that I've paid over $40 an ounce for. I'm talking about stacking silver, stackable silver. Obviously, I'm a collector, probably more so nowadays than ever before as far as my silver holdings are concerned, but I still do stack somewhat. But having, I believe, a balanced view and an understanding will help you to be able to absorb whatever the market throws at you in terms of price or price discovery or value and that type of thing. Because a lot of people I know, as long as I've been in this community, I've seen a lot of people come and go from this community and others that feel disillusioned by silver. And that's part of why I'm here, to kind of provide balance in that area. But nonetheless, moving ahead here, the Silver Institute expects the global market to remain in a surplus, although it's seen its lowest excess since 2015, even against a backdrop of strong electronics and automotive demand, as well as a growing solar power investment. Silver's failure to break higher suggests the gold price, real yields, and U.S. dollar remain powerful drags. They sure do. I do agree with that from Morgan Stanley. Consider the high correlation of silver to gold. In our bearish outlook for the yellow metal over the next 12 months, we expect silver together with gold to continue to struggle amid higher real interest rate expectations in the U.S., said Giovanni Stonovo, a strategist at UBS Group AG. JM Bullion Chief Executive Officer Michael Wittemeyer is more optimistic. The Reddit-fueled buying frenzy caused a spike in demand from existing silver bugs, as well as bringing in a lot of first-time investors in the metal, he said. We're just trying to expand our capacity so that the next time this happens, we'll be able to get all these orders shipped more quickly. I can say, too, that I've spoken with another bullion dealer, and they are hiring more people, and I'm sure that people like APMEX and JM Bullion and others are as well, and to be able to process, to be prepared for what could be coming. We'll see. But I do think it's going to need to be sustained buying for quite a while before we really have an impact as far as, quote, sending a message. But what message do we send that is more important than wealth preservation? To me, that's the most important thing, wealth preservation. Let's see. The accelerating move away from fossil fuels should also provide an enduring tailwind for silver demand as investment in solar power ramps up. China, Japan, and South Korea all set carbon zero targets last year, while the U.S. is considering emissions cuts of 50% or more from 2005 levels by 2030. The energy transition demand should give prices an extra boost, said CPM Group analyst Rohit Savant. Silver will average $27 this year and beat gold due to its relatively cheaper valuation and strong investment demand, he said. Spot silver fell 2% to $24.77 an ounce at 10:40 a.m. on Monday after gaining 1% next week. So in Singapore, Silver Bullion's Gregerson is confident all that currently vacant space in his vault won't go to waste. Silver is usually a forgotten metal that people don't really care much about, he said, but it's starting to shine a bit more, and that trend will continue. So he's betting a bunch of storage space on it, and a lot of investment. But you know what? Here's the thing, and with all of this confidence that we're seeing here about silver, there's two lessons from this I think we can take away from it. And number one is silver product will be made available. They're betting on that, and they'll be able to store 15,000 tons of it apparently just in one place alone, and then JM Bullion expanding their facility as well. So I think that's the first lesson here, is that those who thought that, oh, we're going to run out of silver, it'll be processed, it'll be refined, it'll be mined, it'll be stocked, stamped, poured, cast, and sold to you with a high premium. Make no mistake, you will pay a high premium for silver as long as there's high demand for it. That's number one lesson to learn from this. It will be made available. They will adapt. The industry will adapt for sure. Number two is they could be wrong. That's right. They could spend all this money on this facility, and then people, just like you said at the bottom here, when silver's price goes low, just as I've seen a lot during this community, during the time on this community, people get disillusioned with it. What, I spent all this money, I paid these high premiums? We've seen it before. We could see it again. And that's why I don't just go with the flow as far as getting along on the train, and I try to caution people about where things could go with silver so that people don't get set up for disappointment. And that's really the biggest thing to take into account here, which is why I believe that, yes, it's exciting to see new buyers and existing buyers continue to buy, but I think you should buy, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I would advise that people would try to be as fiscally responsible as possible. Now, that should go without saying for most people, but you'd be surprised. But more so than that is when you do it, utilize the smart dollar cost averaging I talked about a few weeks ago in a video. I'll post a link to the end screen of this video so that you can buy more when the price is low and buy much less when the price is high. And take into account these premiums you're paying. When there's a special sale for $9 over spot for Silver Eagles, and that's considered a great deal these days, you got to wonder, and you have to think about recovery of those premiums down the road. So take that into account as well. Just understand what you're buying is the bottom line there. But nonetheless, interesting, exciting news for sure. And it goes to show you that some of these big bullion dealers are betting on big demand for quite a while to come. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.